In this video for slow pitch softball players, let's talk about why you throw slower as you get older. All right, so if you're new here, I'm Dan Blewett. I'm a former pro pitcher. I've also established this softball channel on the back of all my throwing mechanics videos, mostly aimed at fast pitch players over the years. But I've also made lots of videos for slow pitch players as well because I realize that there's a need for it, right? Everyone wants to throw harder. When you have plenty of arm strength on tap, you can play pretty much any position on the field that you want, right? And when we see that arm strength decrease, especially just with age, even for players who are still very regular with how often they're competing, practicing in the off season, et cetera, it can be a big concern because if that arm strength goes down, now maybe you can't play shortstop anymore. Now you can't hit the cutoff man quite as far anymore, right? There's a lot of really big problems that occur with a lack of arm strength. So let's talk about some of the big culprits in decreased throwing velocity as you get older as a slow pitch player and some of the things you can do to counteract it. So one of the first things that really causes slow pitch softball players to lose throwing velocity over time is the accumulated loss of reps. So me coming from the baseball world, this is one of the first things I noticed. As a baseball pitcher, I was throwing 6 days a week. I wasn't throwing hard every day of the week, but I was throwing 6 days a week. And you understand that to keep your arm in good condition, you have to throw pretty much every day. So whether it's just playing catch, stretching it out a little bit, you fluctuate the volume and the intensity. But then in the slow pitch world, what happens is that you show up 5 minutes for your game, you make 12 throws to your partner, and if you want to throw more, you kind of feel guilty about it. I don't really know why, but that seems to be the case. And then you get out there in the game, we don't warm up between innings, and then you don't make that many throws in a game in general. Maybe you make 6, maybe you make 4, maybe you make 8 if there's a lot of balls hit your way. But in general, the throwing volume is very, very low. So what you need to do to make this a non-factor is show up a little bit earlier and find a partner who's willing to go 30 to 60 throws with you. I know this might seem insane. It's absolutely not. Fast pitch players, they're warming up 25 to 50 throws before every game. Then they're going to throw a lot between innings. They're going to throw the ball around a bunch. In baseball, man, a catch workload is 50 to 80 throws, and those are easy. Yeah, if you were pitching off the mound in baseball, 40 to 60 throws is a lot. But playing catch, it's not. So get out of this mindset that 12, 15 throws is all that you have in your arm, and that if you throw any more, you're going to be tired during the game. You're going to be tired because you only throw 12 throws in pregame. Your arm is in terrible condition. It's just the same as running a half a mile every day and then expecting yourself to turn a really good 5K. It's not going to happen. So one of the big things you have to do at first is get your throwing volume up in practice. Add 10, 15, 20, 30 throws to your warm-up, and that is going to get your arm in much better shape, get in good condition over time. Number 2, lots of slow pitch softball players develop bad habits with their footwork that hurts their throwing velocity over time. And what this looks like is basically just this planting our feet and casually playing catch to get warm. No time in a game do you just plant your feet and toss it over to first base, unless you're a pitcher and you got a comebacker and that's all you have to do, right? Get your footwork back into every single throw. So when you play catch, move your feet. It doesn't matter if your partner's 20 feet away, turn sideways to them, shuffle your feet, and make a throw. That is incredibly important to not getting in this long-term habit where we just get the ball and our feet don't move. And this is what I see in games a lot, especially with more inexperienced players. They get that ground ball at third base, they get that ground ball at second, and then they barely move their feet at all. And then they throw with an open chest, their shirt logo facing their target, because their feet aren't helping them get closed and get momentum and get their body into good throwing positions. You have to train yourself and remind yourself to move my feet, because that's how you're going to play. How you practice is how you play. Number 3, in slow pitch softball, if you lost throwing velocity over time, you do need to look at your overall body weight, especially with the men out there. If you've gotten a big belly over time, and look, I'm not here to body shame anyone. I'm just here to explain the facts. If you've gotten that big belly and you're heavier and you just don't move as well, your footwork's not going to be as good. Your body's not going to rotate as efficiently when you throw. You're not going to be able to get into some of the more flexible positions that you need to really create efficient arm mechanics when you throw and to get more oomph on the ball. If you want to make a change long-term and you want to stay in the game long-term, you have to continue to be generally fit. General fitness is really important in any sport, especially slow pitch softball. So this can absolutely affect your throwing velocity over time. And look, this is something that you can chip away at just by going on a couple extra mile walk a couple days a week. I had a pitching coach in pro baseball, and he had the typical beer belly. From one season to the next, he came back. I came back to the team the same, and I was like, whoa, you look like a whole different person. He's like, yeah, I walked 10 miles, 4 days a week. All off season, he dropped 40 pounds. He looked great. So it doesn't have to be this huge fitness regimen necessarily, but just getting more active and being smart about, your calorie intake and how much you're moving your body, can make a really big difference, and that could add a couple miles per hour back to your throwing velocity. Number 4, a lot of slow pitch softball players lose throwing velocity over time as their lower body mobility decreases. And for us men especially, our hips are tighter. And so, especially as we get older, if we're not doing as much physical activity or not as fit, maybe we need some yoga or something, to get some stretching back in our lives. If our hips continue to tighten up over time and we stand up when we throw, we're not moving our feet as much, all those factors are going to combine to reducing our throwing velocity. For me as a former pro baseball pitcher, I did yoga pretty consistently in my college days that made some real serious long-term positive changes in my hip flexibility. Hip flexibility for me was how I transferred the power from my legs through to my trunk and then finally through to my throwing arm. I gained a couple miles per hour in college because of my flexibility. It was important. This is a common thing. You see this in Major League Baseball clubhouses. They are always trying to get athletes in optimal positions and to have the flexibility and mobility to transfer power from lower half to upper half to arm. So if this sounds like you, maybe go to that yoga class twice a week. That can make a really big difference, not only getting out of the house, the mindset benefits, but also just the lower body flexibility that can help you be more agile on the field in lots of different ways, but also contribute to restoring your throwing velocity. Next, a lot of slow pitch softball players lose throwing velocity over time because they don't have much rotator cuff strength, and sitting in front of their computer all day, they're in this position, just typing away. And without some restorative posture work to get your rotator cuff strong, your rhomboids, your traps, to get that posture back. For me as a baseball pitcher, I was doing arm care exercises 5 times a week for my entire career, basically from college on. And that was really important for keeping my shoulder conditioned, but also helping it handle the rigors of my pitching schedule. The best chance of staying healthy and improving your velocity comes from strengthening your rotator cuff. And I'll link below. I actually made a really simple rotator cuff exercise plan for slow pitch softball, so I'll link to that video. You can find it below. Any little thing you can do is going to have a lot of positive benefits on your overall posture, your overall shoulder health, and help you get into better condition with your shoulder. So I highly recommend doing some sort of rotator cuff and postural work if you're serious about playing slow pitch softball for the long term. And lastly, a lot of slow pitch softball players lose throwing velocity over time just because they have this slow trickle down, losing general fitness, right? And we talked about weight earlier in this video, but in general, the more you stay strong, you stay explosive, you stay fit, and you keep a healthy weight for your size, the better your throwing mechanics are going to be, the better your hitting mechanics are going to be, the more power you're going to retain later into life. This is really, really important. So a lot of times we talk about sport-specific training, and I've always told everyone, even for young kids, the foundation is just good strength training, is just good conditioning, is just good physical fitness. The last 20% of your training is what makes it baseball specific or softball specific or tennis specific or football specific, right? Some of the injury prevention demands, and then obviously in baseball and softball, tons of rotational work and rotator cuff work to keep arms healthy. So if you're in the gym and you need to get in there more and you need to maybe, spruce up your weightlifting regimen, or you need to get back in the gym for the first time in a while, or maybe you need to start running again, whatever it is. Also, jogging is not a good long-term solution for retaining power. Getting your sprints in, right? Doing some, more explosive exercises in the gym, those help really trigger some of those fast twitch fibers so that you retain their strength and explosiveness over time. And of course, one easy way to maintain your explosiveness is to just run hard when you're playing slow pitch. It's really easy to just start to walk out to your position, really slow jog, walk to first base, jog to first base, right? Run hard. I run hard on the bases all the time in slow pitch, and I back up my outfielders in the outfield solely because it's the only place I really get to sprint. I don't want to go run hill sprints. That's not really my jam. I did that back in my playing days. Every time I hit the ball, I'm running as hard as I can around those bases because it's a chance for me to run in 3 dimensions and to just retain that. So as long as I'm running fast, I'm retaining the ability to run fast. When I'm throwing hard and swinging hard, I'm retaining the ability to run hard, to throw hard and swing hard. So really think about what you're doing on the field as well when you're trying to figure out how can I maintain my longevity in this sport, not just from the throwing aspect, but from an entire physical fitness aspect. And the last thing I would suggest, if you're trying to retain more throwing velocity over time, play long toss. Long toss is really good. Make sure you move your feet and throw the ball, stretch it out, challenge yourself. Those are really important. Long toss is not going to make your arm more strong just in general, but long toss has a lot of positive mechanical benefits. You have to move your feet. You have to go uphill. So it teaches your body how to basically how to move properly and how to use your front side, how to use your back side better. Long toss just kind of teaches you how to have more efficient throwing mechanics just in doing the activity itself. So if you don't long toss, I would just go out there, listen to your body, but shoot for at least 30 to 40 throws. However many you finish with is up to you. Listen to your body, but get out there and long toss. I think that can make a big difference for trying to increase your throwing velocity and retaining it over time. All right, so thanks for watching. If you have any questions, throw them in the comment section below. I really enjoy the discussion I've gotten, so I appreciate all of your comments and your potential ideas for other video topics. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you here in the next video.